Hey, how's she going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. We have a little electrical project on the docket today, so let's get at her. So the electrical job is having to do with these work lights. These are nice lights if you get a chance to get some. They work pretty good. They're good and solid. They don't tip over very easily. They will tip over. They have a telescoping base on them, so you can loosen this base. That'll go up, I don't know, 2 feet or so. And then you can loosen this one and move that up another 2 feet. So you can get lots of height adjustment. So that's good. They swivel around. They can swivel forever, 360 plus. Also, the lights themselves are adjustable up and down, and you can rotate those from side to side. So pretty neat, eh? Lots of adjustment. When I first got these work lights, there was HID bulbs in there, not HID, halogen, sorry, HID. There was halogen bulbs in here. The halogen bulbs were super bright, gave off a lot of light, but they were very hot. These cases would get so hot that you'd burn yourself if you touched them. So what happened when those bulbs finally burnt out, I replaced them with LED cob lights. So they work a lot better, they're a lot cooler, but it's not as bright. So you have to bear that in mind if you're going to switch over. They're not as bright. They were 150 watt halogen bulbs, and I replaced them. I think these are 7 watt, but they're supposed to be the equivalent of 150 watt in brightness, but no, they're not. But anyhow, what the job's all about today is on the back of these lights, there's individual switches, right? Pretty handy. You can turn on one light or the other. Those individual switches are in rubber covers here to keep them waterproof, weatherproof, because these lights are meant to be used outdoors if you need to. They, if you take these glasses off the front of them, there's a nice silicone seal that goes around there and keeps the water out, keeps them weatherproof. Anyway, that's what these switches are all about. Now, the problem I have with these switches are, I find it very hard to turn them on and off sometimes. And it's hard to see, like, if they're turned on or off. And what you do is you just plug this into ordinary 110 outlet. So I'd like to plug it in with the lights turned off, but it's hard to see these switches if they're on or off. So anyways, I came up with this idea how I could remedy that situation. So I was in town the other day and bought myself a switch. It's just a single pole, single throw switch, and it's an inline switch. So my thought is I'm going to install it right here on the main line. That way I can turn the lights on and off with this switch, but still have individual control with these switches up here. So that's what my project's all about today. I'm going to cut open this line and install that switch right there. So let's get at her. Alright, so I want to install my inline switch somewhere on this main line here, just a little bit south of the Y connector here. That's what I'm going to think. So what I have to do is cut my cable, but I don't want to cut the cable right off because this is an inline switch. Will I just take it apart and show you what's inside this? There. Alright, now there's a sticker on the bottom of that to make that hard to come apart, but anyway, there it is. So inside the switch, you see, there's only 2 contacts, ding dong, and they're both gold. Now, a typical electrical rule of thumb is black wire goes, or a colored wire, other than white, goes on gold. The white wire always goes on a silver terminal. So these are gold terminals. So that tells me I need to put the black wire on there. Because we're dealing with 110 single phase, there's probably a white and a black wire and a ground wire inside this sheath here. So you have to be careful when you're cutting this because what you want to do is just score it so you can cut the sheath but not cut the conductors. So what I like to do is I like to just score this with the knife. I don't want to cut right through the sheath, just put a score mark in it and then bend it around my finger, and if you can see that's kind of lightening up because that's the plastic sheath tightening on it, and in fact there it just broke through, so I can see into the conductors now. So then I just gently keep scoring that and working around the cable until I get it cut all the way around, because you don't want to cut into the conductors. That's bad. It's not the end of the world, mind you, but it's not good practice. So we just keep scoring that and bending the cable until that sheath breaks free. Anyway, I can't find my other mark, so I'm just going to check this again. It should be about right there. So I'll score this one again and then bend that apart. And you can see it lightening up there. I hope you can see that. And then just a little bit of pressure on the knife, and if your knife is really sharp, this is where you could end up cutting right through into the wire. So sometimes it's good to have a dull knife. So then, just same as the other one, just keep working your way around it, twisting it, or bending it, not twisting it, until you get all the way around, like that, and there, it's broke free. So now, I have this little piece in the middle that's broke free, and the two ends of that are close enough together that I'll be able to hide the ends of the cable inside the switch, which is what I want. Now what we have to do is cut this off. Now there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. Sometimes I just take my side cutters like this and cut into it. I'm sorry, you're not getting a very good view. Oops, not getting a very good view of what I'm doing. Anyway, that just peels off. So inside here are the conductors of the cable. Now, also what you'll find inside electrical cable oftentimes is packing that goes around the conductors, and that's just so that the wire will stay smooth. So we just untwist that, get this packing. All it is just looks like string, and I'm going to cut it with my side cutters, making sure you just only cut the packing. So that's what we're left with. Now typically that's what you'd see inside a cable. There's a white wire, that's the neutral, the black wire carries the power, and then the green wire for ground. So what we need to do inside our switch, we need to switch the hot wire, so that means we have to cut this hot wire. So just in the middle of that, making sure, of course, before we cut anything, making sure that it's unplugged. Then we just cut that. A tool like this is something that you should be using for skinning wire. So I'm just going to stick this in here. This is number 14. So we put that in there and you just clamp it down, spin it around, and then spin it around again, I guess. And then peel it off. Okay, now one other thing that we want to cover here just before we go too much further is when I put my switch back together, you notice the hole in the end of it, quite small, but I have a pretty big diameter cable here. So luckily enough, these switches, they're made so that that little plastic piece that's in there can be broken out. They're made to break away like that. Alright, so now, with our conductors now twisted together, in the switch, the terminals, of course, they're just screws, so when you tighten them, you turn them clockwise, righty-tighty. So when you put your wire on those terminals, you like to wrap the wire around the terminal the way the screw tightens. That way, the more you tighten the screw, the tighter the terminal gets, or the connection gets, and that's what you want. You don't want to have them loose, especially where you're switching current. You don't want any loose connections there, because a loose connection creates resistance, and resistance equates to heat, and heat equates to fire, and we don't want any fire. So we want to make sure we have good connections there. So we're going to start by putting this wire around this terminal, and with my slot screwdriver make sure I tuck it in there good around the terminal, and then I can tighten that up. Alright, so now we get this other wire fished around to go on this terminal. I'm going to get that wire tucked in there as best we can before we start to tighten this terminal, and then when we tighten it, it'll only get better. So now we tuck all these wires down in underneath the switch into the wireway that's provided for them there. Sometimes that can be a struggle. And then we put the cover on it. Alright, so we're having trouble getting our switch together because of the size of the conductors in this cable. Now the conductors are 14 gauge, there's no doubt about that, but there's a little bit more insulation on them because this is for outdoor use. Then I think this switch was designed for lamp cord, So that's causing us a little bit of a problem. So now we just tighten this up gently so that we don't break anything. It was a tight fit in there because, like I was saying, although this is 14 gauge wire, there's heavier insulation on it because this power cord is meant for outdoor use. So we're done with that now. Let's that says on and that says off. So let's go out, or let's stand this light up and see if we can get it to work. Here's the test now. I'm going to turn the lights on. Now turn on the switch. Look at that. Okay, so now with this switch I can turn the lights on and off. And because these LED lights draw such little current, it was no problem just getting an ordinary lamp cord inline switch to switch these because there's not a lot of current. We're not talking a lot of current to switch. So this switch is going to work good. So now we can leave these lights turned on, and we'll just turn it on and off here. A lot easier using this inline switch. Hope you enjoyed the video. It was a simple little one, putting a switch in, but it's going to make those work lights a lot better to use, easier to turn on and off, and I still have the individual control over each light, so that's going to be dandy. Hey, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm so glad you dropped by. I hope you come back often. Don't forget, everybody, please thumbs up me. Click like, click subscribe if you haven't done so already, and share the video. I appreciate that too. And coming up to Christmas time, the Christmas season, so I hope everybody is taking care of themselves and being able to spend some time with your families in the little tiny bubbles that we're allowed to be in, or your big bubble if you're allowed a big bubble. But just enjoy your family, because families are the best present we can get at Christmas. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you.